Hey there guys. So over the past year or so, I've been getting quite a few messages from people who are at the very early stages of trying to recover from their eating disorder. And at this sort of contemplation stage, a lot of the people are saying that they've got a choice in the matter, in that they can choose to continue with their eating disorder behaviours because it makes them feel safe, as if they've got control, or they could quite simply say, no, I'm going to stop that and just get better. And I'm always the first to point out that there isn't a choice in the matter. And when they send me a message back saying, I really do have a choice, I, 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 I try and give them evidence for the fact that there isn't a choice. And I say, okay, just tell me one of the things that your eating disorder tries to make you do, whether it be trying to hide food, things that they've cut down recently, the amount of exercise that they're doing. And I say, okay, as a trial period, just over the next week, just stop doing that behaviour. You can continue whatever you're doing with the eating disorder, but just stop that behaviour. And a week later, I get a message back from them saying, yeah, I couldn't stop. Or I get a message back saying, I don't see the point in this. I can choose to get better anytime I want. And for those people, the latter, they're at almost a pre-contemplation stage of trying to get better, in that they don't really acknowledge that there's a problem. I can't force my opinion on you, but something that I've always asked people to do is to just go and speak to a doctor, whether it be a GP or your free practices that you've got in the US, and just talk to them. And I always say that there is no harm in doing this because you're the one who's going to seek help, and it's not being forced upon you. If you can just try and do that, you might be made aware that there is actually a problem, and more importantly, you can be made aware of the helpful services that are available to try and get help. There's still a common preconception among people who are at the very early stages of developing an eating disorder, and it's that A, eating disorders is something to be embarrassed about, it's something that you feel that you need to hide, and that B, that they can feel that they can get better at any time that they want. It's a choice, and the eating disorder doesn't have a hold in their life. And I'm going to deal with these 2 points separately. That firstly, eating disorders is something to be embarrassed about. The common public opinion about eating disorders has changed drastically in the past few years. If you just look on the internet now, or you even look in a magazine, eating disorder articles are all over the place, and many of them have really positive messages in them, and they've done wonders for raising awareness in the public. I asked my friends what they felt about eating disorders, and I guess it's sort of biased in a way because I'm their friend and I've gone through something and I've been trying to raise awareness, but they feel that eating disorders are no different from physical disorders anymore. And this is really true. Are eating disorders different from physical disorders? The problem in eating disorders is there's something going wrong in your brain. And if you think of your brain as just a load of circuits, you can imagine if one of those circuits is overfiring too much, or if one of those circuits is faulty, you can develop a disorder around that. If you think of something like Parkinson's disease, all that's going wrong in Parkinson's disease is that one of the circuits that controls the amount of dopamine that's being secreted is just wrong. It's not working anymore, and you can see the physical manifestations as a result of that. In the case of eating disorders, there are many theories going around, and many of the theories are centered around serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and in these cases, you can imagine if there's nerves that are firing too much, if there's nerves that are firing too little, the physical manifestations that arise are actually behavioural manifestations. Unlike Parkinson's disease, where you can just see people becoming rigid, and it's a lot more overtly obvious. However, in the case of psychiatric disorders, the change that happens is behavioural, and I guess this is where the public preconception that eating disorders are, they're weird and why don't you just stop it? It's because people are displaying behavioural problems and there's nothing wrong with the way that they're functioning in a physical way. The second point is that people feel that they've got a choice in whether they get better or not. And early in the video I've already highlighted that there is really no choice. Unless you're at a very early stage of developing an eating disorder, where you can sort of curb the entry into developing a big problem, where you lose control over your ability to control things, then you don't really have a choice in the matter. And this is something that the eating disorder does. It gives you the illusion that despite things spiraling out of control in your life, whether it be at school, with your friends, your family, you can take comfort in the fact that you're controlling food. And this is the big lie. You do not have control over the food that you're eating. It's something that the eating disorder makes you believe that you have. And it's something that I had to realise myself. It's something that many of you will go on to realise when you actually start to seek help. Because it's really, really difficult to undo the behavioural changes that you've started to go through. And the fact that your behaviour has become so rigid should really highlight that you really don't have control in the matter. I know this is a very different opinion than what other people have been saying in documentaries and magazine articles, the whole idea of controlling food, but it's something that I have begun to realise is becoming more and more true. This concept of control, it really needs to go away, really, because it's really hindering a lot of people in trying to recover, because they feel that they can use it as an excuse to continue with their eating disorder behaviours. It might be something that's true in the very early stages of developing an eating disorder, because back then you did have control over what things that you cut out from your diet, what things that you chose to eat. And as the eating disorder begins to develop, you really do lose control over these aspects of your behaviour. And as I said, the proof is that if you try and revert back to things that you used to do, either you can't, or you say I don't see the point, in which case you're just not acknowledging that there's a problem. The only thing I can say is it's really up to you to try and do something about it. People can continually tell you that there's a problem, and you know, that can fall on deaf ears easy, but it's really up to you to believe them, really. If you need support trying to get there, please feel free to message me, and I'll try and get around to it as soon as possible. I know recently I've not been great trying to get back to you, but that's because of the whole exam that I've been trying to get around to doing, but I do always reply at some point. Now, I've spoken about these 2 points separately, but I want to bring them together now, because if you think about it, both of them stem from a root cause of anxiety that the eating disorder creates. And the reason for this is quite simple. I've said that the public idea about eating disorders has changed drastically in the past few years, yet when you're developing an eating disorder, you feel embarrassed about it. Now, this could just be genuine embarrassment, but equally, it could just be something that the eating disorder generates for you to create an excuse to not seek help. Now, this might not be the case in everyone, but it's something that I certainly felt was a thing that was hindering my ability to try and seek help. And the proof of it is that I've gone through this once. I'm also a medical student, so I know more than most people that eating disorders are just a pathological process. And yet I still felt embarrassed about it. I felt that there was nothing that anyone could do. If you've got any questions about this topic, because it's a really difficult video to try and talk about, really, because there are so many aspects to it. But if there's anything in particular that you want me to talk about, again, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below or send me a message. But for now, thanks for watching.